Welcome back to another GameMaker Studio tutorial, and this time we're gonna do the drone tutorial but in an advanced form. So what you're seeing here is my little drone, and it can shoot some rockets, which is pretty sweet. So if you want to know how to do that in GameMaker Studio, stay tuned. This is One Up Indie. I am the developer of the indie game Clunky Souls and a programmer / pixel artist. So if you are new here and you want more, consider subscribing to my channel because I upload every day a video. So let's get right into the good stuff. So if you have been seeing my last video, I will just give a very quick and brief recap on what has been done. So basically we have a player, which is this guy here, and he spawns one instance at the start of its creation as well. So basically I just spawn it, store into the variable drone the ID of the player so it can follow it around, then a specific distance which I use as a buffer, or well, for example, if so the drone will be flying a little bit behind the player, 20 pixels, so every time I turn around it will do so. For now it didn't do that, but I will implement it here. And then of course do it a little bit above the player, and then how fast it will react to a position change of the player in a lerp function. So basically the player we can instantly kill. So this is how the last code looked like, but we want it to turn around. So we just go in directly and make an if statement and check, well, is the thing which we are following, so the player here, its image X scale, let's say 1, then we say alrighty, change our image X scale as well, because here we are now in our drone here, in our drone setup. And of course we can do the same, because now it would be just for the image X scale of the player if it would be 1, but for example if it's -1, so it's flipped, then of course we want to have that too. So basically is it 1, flip 1, and if it's -1, flip mine to -1 as well. But here I have it a little bit more different, but this shouldn't be concerning you, because here I don't have image X scale, I have facing. So, but in most of the games image X scale would be working perfectly. So I just have a little different system, so don't be confused by that. So it's just player facing, not image X scale for my game, but that is the main difference. But for you image X scale would work pretty sweet. And here just keep that in mind. For example, I want, for example, if I'm having an image X scale of 1, and I want my drone to have a distance minus, that means to the left of me. And then for example if I'm flipped and I'm looking to the left, I want it to be plus. So basically what you're seeing now, the drone will be a little bit behind the player, which is, well, a lot of games do that as well. So it looks kind of like it's trying to follow you. So let's go in here, bam bam bam. As you can see, once I turn around it tries to go behind me. See, this is pretty sweet. Of course on the Y scale we didn't really change any code, but of course we can spam that. As you can see, already pretty sweet. So that part is already done, and now we come to a little bit more complicated stuff, because now we want to add some AI. So here we need something like our attack range. What is the attack range? Basically this is something just to indicate how close we are. And this was just the ring which you saw in the beginning. And so how can we do it? Well, we just go and say draw circle, and of course X and Y, because this is once again in the drone our position. And then how far? Well, in our attack range. What does it mean? Basically just 150 pixels from our start point is our attack range. For example, if we are in there, the drone will attack. If not, well, it won't be doing anything. And of course here We need an ask parameter, outline, yes. So we just go for 1, and we don't need that. So this is it. And for example, I could like already show you that, but it's not too important for now. Let's go for the next stuff because now we need to check, because this is just our position, but this I will just go region, end region, and I really love that. This is just like so I can fold my code, but this of course you don't have to do that. And this is of course here for the AI. And what I'm doing in the AI, well, I am checking first of all if an instance exists. What do I mean instance? What does that check? Basically, I'm just checking if I'm having an enemy around. So for example, if there is no enemy, whoa, way too many, then don't do anything. So I'm just checking, all right, am I having an enemy? And of course I have to phrase it like this: if instance exists, then do some code. So it's just checking, all right, are there any enemies around? If not, well, all this code is being not used. And then of course we need to say, well, we want to take not just any enemy, but we want to take the nearest one. So we just go nearest instance nearest, yep. And then we need to define few parameters. First of all, the x and y is just our starting position, and then what kind of thing we want to check to, and well, enemy object. So basically, if you have a structure like me, you have entities and then you have enemies, you have like one parent and then all the children are being checked. So basically you just take the parent, which is just inheriting all the stuff to its children, and bam, you're checking then. And of course I want to do something with that, and that's why I just call it nearest instance, do a variable and store it. Store the nearest instance of our enemy. So basically we're checking, are there any? Okay, then we take a variable and store the nearest one in there. So far so good. And now we do something like this. We need to check, okay, is our nearest enemy in our attack range? So because for now it wouldn't be doing anything, so we just say, all right, we have something like our attack range, and check, is our attack range bigger than, and we now do a little function which is called point distance. Where is it? Point distance, and there you need 4 input parameters just to keep it simple. Point distance just returns the length between two points. The first point would be our player and the other point would be our nearest enemy, and then we get a length. So for example, this whole function would return a length, and that we compare to our attack range. So just to keep it in perspective, here we need a few parameters. So first of all, we need our players x and y coordinates, and then the newest one which we just fished out, and then taking its x and y as well. And then of course we compare it, and then if that statement is being true, we do something. So what do we do? Well, we can do some action because we want to do some action. So here, action. And now, what is the thing we want to do? First of all, now we want to do the shooting, but because we don't want to shoot it like 60 times per step, which would be just ridiculous, we need to put in kind of a timer, which is just saying, all right, once the timer runs down, shoot some stuff. So when we go into the level, the thing is just, well, checking, okay, do we have an enemy? Yep. Is it near? Yep. And if it's near, do some stuff. And here we just go and create two new variables, which I call attack time and attack timer. So basically this is the timer that runs down, and that's the reset time once the timer runs down and does some stuff to reset it to every half second to shoot one. So we just take this guy, let it run down, minus minus, and then we say, alright, is it smaller or equal to 0? And in that case we can actually shoot some stuff, and this is where the good stuff starts to come in. We just create an instance, so we go instance, okay, instance, create layer. Here we go, way too many options. Okay, here again, X and Y position. Of course you can play around with those, maybe you want some more, but for the demonstration here, more than good enough. Okay, here we go, instances, the default layer, and what do we want to create? Well, a bullet. So this is just the bullet which we are creating, and because we want to control the bullet which we are doing, then we create another variable and call it bullet. Come on, and now we have control over the new one. Why is that important? Well, you will see in a few seconds. For example, like something like this would work. So here we just take and reset our little timer. So every time the timer runs down, we say, okay, reset the timer and create a bullet. But for now, it doesn't really do anything. For example, once we started, it will just create a bullet, and then it's not moving, it's not doing anything. It doesn't have the right angle, it has not the right rotation, nothing. So basically what you're seeing now, and it's, well, invisible. Why is it invisible? Because it's not drawing itself. So let's go for that guy, start it again. So this is very important. For example, if you leave it out, then it will override this little thing. So once you have a draw event, always not forget to do the draw self or something similar. Alright, we are finished here. Then as you can see, it turns around, which we want. Let's zoom, and as you can see, this is our attack range with this bubble. And once we are in attack range, well, what you're seeing here, it's creating those rockets all the time, but they're not doing anything, and this is what we want to change. And how can we do that? Well, first of all, we need to give it a direction to fly to. So as you can see, this is a green one, so it's inbuilt, and we just need direction and speed. With those two guys, it will fly off. So for speed we can say 2, because why not? But for the direction we need to get an angle, because that thing is an angle. Okay, this is completely useless. So how do we get the angle, which is, let's say the drone is here, this guy is here, and how do we get the angle so it goes downwards to the enemy? Well, with a little function, it's called point direction. Here we go. And once again we need, well, 4 points, our player, or let's say our drone, and the thing we want to hit. So bam bam bam, here we go, and let's start it again. And now it should already work, and it should head off to the enemy. Let's see if it does, if it loads. So we are here, and it's shooting bam bam bam, and as you can see, it already aims downwards, so the angle is correct. But as you can see, the rockets kind of not rotate. So how can we fix that? Well, very fast. And this is basically the same as here. What do I mean by that? Basically we just take the bullet, say image angle, set it to equal, and basically the same code. Of course you could do take that, but And once we start it, it already should look neat. So let's go and check that out. And our actual bullet, as you can see, it has no real code. Besides, it has a collision with our enemy, then it's destroying itself, and then on the place where it's being destroyed, well, it creates an explosion. Is it loaded? Yep. So let's go in back here, zoom in a little bit, and bam. As you can see, it always targets correctly and it aims, well, correctly to its position. Of course, if the enemy would be moving fast, those rockets would kind of miss sometimes its target. So this is of course not bulletproof, but it's already a pretty decent system. So here we could actually be at this point ready, but I wanted to do a little bit more. What is that? Basically giving it some ammunition. So here we add ammo of 5, so it has 5 rockets to shoot, and then after that it will reset. So how can we implement that? For example, we go and say, is the timer running down? Yes. And do we have more than 0 rockets to use? And then of course, once we do it, we subtract 1. This should already work, but for example, after 5 rockets, well, this thing would be completely over, and well, we don't want that. We want it to continue, and therefore we do something like this. We get a second timer, which is kind of locked to the ammunition, and we say, all right, are we having no ammunition? So is it smaller or equal to 0? Then we do something. We let the second timer run down, and this is basically the same as this guy. It's just a little bit longer. So bam, let it run down. Is it smaller or equal to 0? Bam, basically the same code. So I always use this kind of method because it's pretty neat and handy and works pretty sweet. So once the reload timer runs down and it's equal to 0, we reset the timer and we fill up our ammunition. Bam bam to 5, and this should be already finished. But of course I wanted to do something else because I wanted to draw a kind of a health bar, which is basically a health bar above it to show the progress. So what do we mean by that? For example, now we're just shooting and then it breaks and you don't really understand why it's doing so. For example, now it already works pretty sweet, but as you can see, by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then come on, do something. No, and then bam, 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 shooting, and then a break. And of course, you can do that a little bit more. So let's say draw health bar, and here we do something like this. Sprite width. Why do I use that? Because for example, if we're having our little drone here, it's centered pretty much in the middle, a little bit higher than in the middle, and then of course we say go a little bit up, and then here this is the half of the sprite width. This is half of the sprite width to the left and to the right, and then we just go from that point and draw here our sprite, our H bar or our health bar or whatever you want to call it. It's basically like this. So let's say -20, and then because we are lazy, we can copy the whole code, but let's now do a plus. So we do that stuff, and now it asks us for the amount. And for example, if you just go in there, you need an amount between 0 and 100, and that's why I conveniently did our reload time by 200. So basically we just need a value between 0 and 100, so we just divide it by 2, so it always falls into, well, one of those between those two values. And then of course we say Do we need a back color? C black, but we won't be using that one. Minimal color, C white, and the maximum color, C white as well, because this is just to show a progress, so we don't need that. Well, direction 0, because this is from left to right, that's why it's 0. The other ones have, I don't know, 1 and 2 and so on. Show back, no. Show border, no. And because we don't want it to show all the time, we just do it at one point. And when? Well, when we have no ammunition, 0. So we just say, alright, are we having no ammunition? Then show our little progress bar. And then start it again, and it should work. Hopefully. Did I do a mistake? Yes, because our health bar is not very big. So let's make it a little bit bigger then. Well, 0 pixels. Let's see how it looks like. Shoot. Show me. Oh, actually 1 pixel is the absolute minimum, which is kind of nice. So this is pretty sweet. Reload timer. Bam bam bam. Let's show it again. I just put it in the wrong input because the time is actually never changing. It's the timer which is running down. So this is the dynamic part. Let's check it out again. Come on, come on, faster. Zoom in a little bit, and as you can see, bam bam bam, shooting, shooting, shooting. Yes, and it's showing correctly what I actually wanted to see. Hopefully that was of use to you. Have a good one. One up, Indie.